Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to everyone who's joining us today to learn more about mechanical engineering at the University of Waterloo. My name is Daniela Cross, and I am the Associate Director of Marketing and Recruitment here for the Faculty of Engineering. We have a great group of panelists here ready to answer your questions about the mechanical engineering program. I'm going to go through and get each of our panelists to introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into the Q&A. If you do have questions throughout the course of the event, please type them in. Use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window. So Abdullah, maybe you could start us off and introduce yourself, please.
Sure thing. So hello, everyone. My name is Abdullah Barakat. I am a 2018 grad in mechanical engineering. Throughout my time as a student at the University of Waterloo, I got to be involved in a lot of very different, very cool things. I guess one of the major highlights was I was the Engineering Society president for my final year, and I just got to learn about everything that happens in our faculty and university as a whole. Since I graduated, I've gotten to do a bunch of cool things. Right after I graduated, I went on a road trip visiting every engineering school in Canada, which was wild because I got to confirm that Waterloo is the best school, which is great. And then since then, I've been working at a company in Waterloo that specializes in basically planning out the future for electric vehicles and helping utility companies all around the world better understand the impact of electric vehicles on the electric grid and basically help prepare for widespread electric vehicle adoption. So it's been a great opportunity, definitely grateful to Waterloo to be able to give me those opportunities and get me where I'm at now.
Excellent, thank you, Abdullah. Delaney, could you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
For sure. Hello, first off, I want to congratulate all of you on your offer. That's super exciting. My name is Delaney Lindstrom Humphreys. I'm currently a third-year mechanical engineering student, and I also happen to be the current NSHOC president. So I'm looking forward to answering any of your questions about like student life, about the program, and any questions you might have about co-op as well.
Wonderful, thanks, Delaney. Mike.
Hi there. Again, congratulations on your offer. So my name is Mike Collins. I'm the senior professor here, so much so that I've actually taught the only other professor on this call, which makes me feel very old. I am a professor in the Department of Mechanical and Mechatronics Engineering and have been for almost 20 years. I am the current associate chair undergraduate studies for mechanical and mechatronics, which means that I run the undergraduate program. I oversee its operation. I have taught first years fairly frequently. I probably won't be teaching any of you as first years, but you will most likely see me. I'm an instructor in the fields of thermodynamics and building energy. I should note I was also a co-op engineer as an undergrad. I didn't go to UW. Please don't hold that against me, but I was a co-op engineer as an undergrad and had placements all over the world, a couple notably in Scotland, which were fantastic. And I can directly relate my current career path to, that experience and those experiences that I had as a co-op.
Wonderful, thank you, Mike. Vlad, could you introduce yourself?
So hi, everyone. My name is Vlad, and big congratulations to all of you. If you're in this call, it means like the past 4 years of your hard work has paid off, so you should be very excited about that. So I'm in mechanical engineering, and I'm in 1B, so that's my second term of first year, and I've also completed co-op for 1 term. So yeah, you can ask me questions about anything, and then I'll try to answer it as best as I can.
Awesome, thanks for being here, Vlad. And Andrew, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Hi, Andrew Milne. I am one of your 1A instructors. I'm really looking forward to teaching all of you in the fall. I taught Delaney, I taught Abdullah, I taught Vlad. I won't say anything about them beyond the fact that I taught them. And yeah, I'm the person who Mike Collins taught. So I'm in that strange middle place. Congratulations. It's hard to get into Waterloo. I know the last couple of months have been really weird. We're doing everything we can, and we're really looking forward to having you on in class and working on ME100, which is the course that I teach. So welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. And last but not least, Mariana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mariana Radulovic. I'm the Associate Director of Admission for the Faculty of Engineering. So I feel like I know many of you already just from reading your AIFs and watching your video interviews. And I have to say I'm impressed, and I'm really glad that you will be joining the Waterloo community in September.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Mariana. Mariana, I'm wondering if you could maybe start us off and address the obvious question that many of the students have. What is the plan for the fall in terms of classes being online? How will that work? And maybe then we can go over to Andrew and Mike and perhaps our current students as well, just to talk a little bit about how working in this sort of virtual setting is now working, and doing classes online has been going so far. So Mariana, could you give us a bit of insight into what that looks like for our students who will be starting in September?
Sure. So I'll kind of start off with a little bit of background. So Waterloo, because of co-op, is open year-round. So when you're here in September, we will be fully online, and we will have one full term and one tiny end of a term of experience behind us being fully online. So hopefully by then we will perfect everything and it will run as smooth as it can. But if you check your email in the last hour or so, you will find that there's an updated email, and you can go through it later if you haven't seen it already, that sort of outlines everything from what online classes mean and what that will look like. Everything will be online, including labs and tutorials. You'll see in that email. Furthermore, there will be opportunities for students who want to experience that on campus. So they'll be able to come on for extracurricular activities and to get a taste of Waterloo sort of during that 1A term. So that's what it looks like for now. And I encourage everyone to check their emails and read up on the details.
Wonderful. Yes, I think it's breaking news, that email that just came out. So please do check your inboxes for some more information and some helpful links related to that. And Andrew, maybe you can tell us a bit about how the pivot has been going for you in teaching your online classes, and what you think it's going to look like in September for the incoming students.
Sure thing. So I was teaching in the winter, and come March 13th, needed to pivot to online. I'm teaching this summer as well. It does work. It takes effort on everybody's part, but learning always takes effort on everybody's part, the teacher's part and the student's part. We've got some really good tools. We've got tools like Zoom, but a bit more of an enterprise solution, which is a bit more solid than Zoom is. And we've got a few of those that work really well, WebEx and Bongo and a few other options. It's gone well for the lecturing, the delivering of content, which is what you're going to get in a lot of your courses, in your math courses, in your physics, and your chemistry. We can do office hours and one-on-one meets in things like MS Teams and in WebEx as well. Projects, assignments can run very, very similarly. For the fall, teaching ME100, it's a design course. We're going to be having some, we're setting things up so that we're going to have some one-on-one meetings with each and every one of you every week or every other week, because normally we would be doing that for a design course. So we're just going to move that online and have those meetings online with you and help coach you through your first design project.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. And Mike, did you want to speak to that at all as well, and what it's been like for you?
Yeah, well, like Andrew, I was teaching in the winter and my course had to flip online. Myself, I've been teaching online for over 10 years, so that was pretty straightforward for me. But for most profs, it was new. Communication. So we've been in constant contact with our professors, helping them set up. We've hired co-op students to actually help them with web delivery. We've made sure that the delivery or the process is kind of consistent, so that students aren't seeing all kinds of different things from different professors. And probably most importantly, we meet very regularly with class representatives, and so they meet with their professors, but they also meet with me separately to talk about how things are going. So far, the feedback is very, very good for the spring. For those of you who are online and seeing this for the first time, we are a co-op program. We have a full slate of students here right now, and we are offering a lot of courses online at the moment. So far, so good. It seems to be going very, very well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mike. And I was hoping that Delaney and Vlad could share a little bit about their experience as well, the end of last term and now being in a current term and what that looks like for you. Delaney, maybe we could start off with you.
Can do. So I was on term in the winter. So I was one of the students who got switched to online learning. I think that having the week off gave professors time that, from what I saw, the adjustment went really well. From the delivery of the lecture contents, oftentimes the online lectures, some of them were even better than the in-person ones. I'm not gonna lie, like it was pretty good, and it was nice to be able to pause your lecture partway through and rewind a bit, especially if someone maybe like talked too fast over a point. So that was a really handy thing that I found. For me, the toughest part was probably the time management adjustment. I went from very much having my class schedule of, okay, 8 a.m., this is what I'm doing, 9 a.m., this is what I'm doing, to suddenly having to do a bit of a rearrangement to figure out how I needed to study differently. I feel like a lot of you probably face the same issues when your high school is converted to online learning. So that's how it sort of went for me. But overall, I was like impressed about just with the overall adaptability of everyone, and the support that we had throughout it was really, really great. Then maybe Vlad can talk more about this.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with you, Delaney, the fact that, online lectures are actually a lot more flexible even than in-person lectures, because you can, you can go at your own pace. You can kind of plan out what you want to do. You can rewatch and do all these flexible things that help you learn better. And also, like, one thing about online classes, people worry that, I'm not going to be able to meet people or, like socialize or whatever, but there's still a sort of sense of community. Like, I know for my cohort, we have a Facebook chat that we all keep up on, and we talk about assignments, professors, all that. And then we also have calls, right? So there's still that sense of like community and getting through it. And even though we were a bit bummed out that we didn't get to spend our summer term on campus, this is all temporary. So to all future students, I'm telling you that, this is temporary. It's something that we're going to get through. And your undergraduate career is 4 years, 5 years long, and you have so much to do. So, yeah.
Vlad, you really wanted to be there for nesting season?
Yeah. Even though the geese are a bit, aggressive, I think I want to be there, in the nice weather with no snow. So.
Campus is lovely in the summer.
Very true. Very true. But I think, Vlad, you hit the nail on the head. This is a blip. It's not the ideal situation. We totally understand that, but it is a blip in your 5-year journey with Waterloo Engineering. So we're doing everything possible to deliver the best possible education. And as you've heard from our professors and from our students, I think that they are achieving that. And by the time fall rolls around, we will have, a full semester under our belts, learning this way and pivoting as needed. So Abdullah, I wanted to jump over to you for a minute. We're getting a lot of questions in about co-op, and I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to what your co-op experiences were like, and maybe specifically to what it was like getting your first co-op job, as a 1B student when you first started, or what that was like for you, and maybe any advice you have for students who are a little bit nervous about that. And then maybe we'll talk to Delaney and Vlad about that as well, just some of their co-op experiences. So Abdullah, if you could start us off.
Absolutely. So the cool thing about Waterloo is you get up to 6 different co-op opportunities, and they can be widely different. For me, every single one of my co-ops, I was doing something different. I worked in nuclear, I worked in defense, I worked in HVAC technical sales, I worked for a student design team, and I was a TA twice. So wide variety of experiences, got to try so many different things, learned about so many different industries. And the beauty about co-op isn't just getting to try a bunch of different things and learning what you like. a big part of it is also learning what you don't like, because as you go through it, you'll obviously, mechanical engineering is a very broad field. There are a lot of different industries that need mechanical engineers. Not everything's for everybody. So being able to go through co-op, you're able to get the experience that you need and build on transferable skills and learn technical skills that supplement what you learn in class. But you also learn about what you actually want to see yourself doing. So it gives you a much better way to plan out your future, which is awesome. In terms of my first co-op, I was an 8th stream mechanical engineering student. So I applied when I was in 1B for a summer co-op. And at the time, it was a little bit difficult just because it was going into a summer term. There was a lot of other schools applying, as well as all of the people in my class and the upper years applying to jobs. But the cool thing is, even if I didn't get every job that I got interviewed for, I got to learn from the interview process. I got to learn from my classmates and just see what worked for them, what didn't. And the cool thing about it is, even though everyone's applying to jobs, it's competitive in the sense that everybody wants to do great, but it's not competitive in the sense that, oh, I want to do better than this guy or this girl or this person. It's more of everybody wants to do their best, and there are enough opportunities for everybody to do their best. And everyone's very supportive in that way. It's like, there was one time I was going into an interview and one of my classmates was leaving the interview. So he actually gave me tips and tricks about what the interviewer was like so I can prepare going into it. So it was actually very cool. For my first job, I ended up working for a student design team on campus. And while, yeah, it's not an industry job right off the bat, it was something to get me started. It helped me learn how to work in a team. It helped me learn how the design process works overall. And then that helped actually lead me to a bunch of other jobs. And my student design team experience was working on solar cars. Right now I'm working on electric vehicles. So not exactly the same, but that experience kind of led me to where I'm at right now. And all of the other experiences, whether it be project management or design-based or even being a TA, which honestly was my favorite job, all of them taught me what I needed in order to excel where I'm at right now. I'm 2 years out of school and I'm still very much using everything I learned in school in my job. So can't speak highly enough of the co-op program at Waterloo.
That is awesome, Abdullah. And if it's not too personal to ask, a couple of students were asking about kind of the salary range for co-op positions. Could you give us a little bit of an insight into what the range is that you would earn in a term when you're on co-op?
Sure. It really depends on which co-op term you're at. So for my first co-op, I was working for a student design team, so it was a volunteer position. But second co-op onwards, I was making between $19 and $20 an hour. And then for the next 2 co-ops after that, I was making between $21 and $23 an hour. And then for my last 2, I was making anywhere between $25 and $30 an hour. So it depends on the job, depends on the industry, depends on a lot of different factors. I know there were people in my class that ended up getting jobs in California and they were being paid 45 USD an hour. It really depends on where you're going and what you want to do. Ultimately, it's like, yeah, what you're being paid is good to know and it helps financially, but at the same time, the experience is significantly more valuable than anything you're being paid. Because once you graduate, you're going to get a full-time job, you're going to get an engineering job making $60,000, $65,000, $70,000, $100,000 a year. So get the most of the experience that you can, even if it's not necessarily the highest paying co-op in the world.
No, I think that's a really great point that you made there. It really is about the experience and how that gives you an advantage when you are ready to enter the work world as well, because you've got all this great experience on your resume that does give you a serious advantage over other candidates when you're looking for a full-time role. So that's awesome.
Yeah, if I may add just one more thing. It's not just the co-op experience that helps you get the next co-op or the next full-time job. It's very much also what you do during your academic terms outside of class, whether it be your extracurriculars, design projects, personal projects. Making time for things like that will help you greatly. Like I mentioned earlier, I was the engineering society president when I was a student, and genuinely that was the biggest factor that helped me get my current job, more than my design experience, more than my degree. It was my project management, my people skills, my leadership skills that stood out in my interviews. Because you can teach someone the technical skills, but you can't necessarily teach someone to be well-rounded just by doing technical work. So the more you do to invest in yourself, the better and more likely you are to be successful.
Awesome. Yeah, and we will talk a little bit more about student life and extracurriculars a little bit later on, because I think that's really important to share and tell our future students about also. So thank you for that, Abdullah. Delaney, could you talk a little bit about your co-op experiences to date and how it's working right now being on co-op in this current situation?
And do. So I'm currently going into my 4th co-op term. So I have 3 co-op terms under my belt already. And I think Abdullah really highlighted some of the variety. And yeah, every experience you have is a valid experience. I've learned a ton from each of my co-op jobs, and I've genuinely enjoyed all of them for different reasons. So for my first work term, I ended up working for the Government of Canada, and we were working on electric vehicle infrastructure demonstrations, trying to figure out what would be the upcoming electric vehicle tech and which companies we were going to support through that. So it was great to read through those proposals and have that introduction. Your first co-op term is definitely your hardest co-op term to find, but it builds the stepping stones for all of your other positions. So I think that's a really great thing to keep in mind. Like, be open for your first position and it'll open a lot of doors along the way. For my next term, I was completely switched. I went from working at a desk job to working at a plant. So I was working for a company now called TC Energy, and it was a combined cycle power plant. So I actually got to go on site, and I was absolutely blown away by the size. I got to do a lot of hands-on plant support, supporting different projects that were happening really all over the plant. So that was a great mix of things. For anyone who's from like the GTA area, you might have driven by the plant. It's right off the 401. So that was really neat to see. And for it actually came up in one of my classes this past term, which was nice to have that connection between co-op work and the classroom. And then last term, I was working for a company called Deltec Fans, doing fan automation. So bringing in some coding and programming experience there. And I hope that this goes to show the pure variety. I went from desk to being on the ground to doing some coding. So whole different fields. And this term I'm working for a nuclear company, and they have been really, really great with the onboarding process. I officially start work on Monday. So that's exciting for me, but I've been really pleased with the way that my employer has been keeping me in the loop, trying to just welcome me into the company culture, even though I can't meet them face to face in person right now. They've been like super accepting to like make the co-op happen. It's cool to be part of the company and see how they're adapting themselves with everything happening with COVID and not being able to meet and work in person the same way we are in the classroom. So I've been really happy and pleased with that.
Awesome. Thank you, Delaney. And Vlad, can you tell us a bit about your co-op experiences as well?
Yeah, sure. So I'm in forestry, which means that right off the gate, when I started learning at Waterloo, I also had to apply to jobs at the same time. So that was definitely a really, really, I guess, a huge learning experience, because we had to balance classes and doing resumes and cover letters and all that. But as Abdullah mentioned, like, the community is really, really good in terms of like how you support students. Like I never had a negative experience with either like any of my classmates. Like, everybody's so like super supportive, and they're not like competitive, like, you know, oh, I don't want you to do well, I want you to, like, you know. So I've even had times where like someone's like, yo, look at this cool job, like you should apply. I applied to it too, like it looks really interesting. So yeah, I think there's a lot of support from both other students, your peers, and the school as well. So even if you're feeling stressed, especially for first co-op, you know, I was so worried that, you know, I was thinking to myself, if I don't get this, like, that's it for me, like I won't be able to progress. But and I ended up getting my co-op placement very near to the end of my term. But I was lucky, because even though it was really near to the end of my term, I got a really good position. Like, I got a position where I was able to do stuff I directly learned in ME 100, which was modeling in 3D SolidWorks. So I was working a desk job modeling and doing engineering drawings and all that. So what I learned, it was so cool, because the stuff I learned in 4 months, I immediately got to apply it literally the next 4 months. And it was a good experience. And I wouldn't say like it's not easy, like co-ops aren't handed to you, but it's also very, very doable with the support that we have.
Thanks, Vlad. That's really great. Mariana, I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit about the streaming system. We've gotten a couple of questions about that. So what do the streams mean, and can students switch streams, or how does that work?
Yeah, so for mechanical engineering, we have two streams. So you will hear stream 4 and stream 8. Essentially what it means that, as Vlad mentioned, if you're in stream 4, you will be going on your first work term right after your 4 months of schooling, so January of 2021. And then if you are in stream 8, you would be going on your first work term after 8 months of schooling, so in May of 2021. And I know for a lot of people, even without the current situation that we're facing, stream 4 is sometimes a bit scary, intimidating. But I think, I mean, Vlad really talked about it. There's really not much difference. And I think Abdullah had mentioned that because he was looking for his first co-op job during the summer, everyone else in schools that don't have co-op is also looking for their summer job. So there's a little bit more competition for students who are in stream 8. So just kind of there's benefits to both being in stream 4 and in stream 8. So if you have a reason, or you need some kind of accommodation, or maybe you're on a varsity team and you would prefer one stream over another because it works better for practice and such, you can request so. And I think Erica is going to post the email address. So you can request a particular stream through by June 1st. We try to accommodate all students that we can, but it's not guaranteed. So asking for one, and then whether or not you get it depends on your reasoning and also how many other students have requested that particular stream. So there is some options of possibly getting accommodation for a particular stream.
Great, thank you, Mariana. And yes, Erica has shared that information as well in the chat. I wanted to go over to Andrew and Mike for a second. We've received some questions about class sizes. So typically, how many students would be in a mechanical engineering class? And how are you managing sort of the online lectures now? Is it the same number of students, or are they being split up? And are we adjusting for time zones, or how does that format work? Maybe Mike, we could start with you.
Yeah, sure. So typically somewhere between 90 and 100 to 110 students in a regular class is normal. For online, it's actually a little bit easier. The class sizes are, well, let's put it this way. We've done surveys with a lot of the students to find out where they are in the world. And so any interaction that the prof has with the class is recorded. And so, because we understand that some students are, we've got students, I mean, the majority are somewhere between Ontario and Vancouver and BC, but there are some students in India and Europe and China. And so we are accommodating that by making sure that any online delivery is recorded and available. So online is certainly a little bit easier, if anything. When profs are doing those online lectures, we've learned some lessons. So we don't like using the chat feature, say in Zoom. It's very hard to follow. It's very difficult for an instructor to look at a screen and see all cameras turned off and all mics muted, and to be talking in there to their computer with no feedback. So students now are being told that when they want to interact with that prof, they turn their camera on, they verbally address us, and it actually works very, very well. You get that sense of there's actually a lecture going on here, which is quite nice. But yes, the class size has not changed at all because of the online. It's still up to about 100 students.
Awesome. Andrew, did you want to add to that at all, or I have another question as well?
Something specific to first year. One of the things we are going to do, as I said, is we're going to schedule some time to meet with all of the groups, with every person in their design team for the course, so that we have an opportunity to have that one-on-one discussion. We're also thinking through some of the ways that we can get some discussion going in class about some of the design challenges that we're going to be discussing and some of the engineering challenges that we're going to be discussing. And yeah, just to echo what Mike said, it's weird for us too. Lecturing to a blank screen feels really, really weird. I was actually able to invite a few of my students this morning before lecture started. They were in the room and I was in the room, and it's, anybody want to turn on their camera and mic? And a few did, and we just had a lovely chat about absolutely nothing related to the course, and it was great. And then we got the class started on time. So we're looking forward to talking with y'all.
Awesome, definitely. And just to stay with you, Mike and Andrew, we had a question come in about what first year looks like for mechanical engineering. Do students have electives? Do they get to choose their own schedule? Or how does the course format work for the students in first year?
So in 1A, your classes are already determined. You have calculus, you have algebra, you have physics, you have chemistry, and you have ME 100, the Introduction to Mechanical Engineering. So you already have your schedule, you already know your classes. We're working right now on trying to figure out the best timing for all of them, given known and expected time zone issues. But as we said, we're going to record everything so that if you are in the wrong time zone or you have internet troubles, you will be able to participate fully, no problem at all. There's an elective in 1B in your second term after either winter or spring, depending upon what stream you're in. But your fall term, 1A term is already known. 2 maths, calculus, physics, ME 100.
Great. Mike, did you want to speak a little bit to options and specializations and what that looks like in mechanical engineering? And maybe Abdullah could speak to that as well if you have any insight or any experience as well with that.
Sure. So specializations are something very specific in our programs. We only have one specialization in mechanical engineering, and that is a welding and joining specialization. A specialization is obtained by a student just by their selection of courses. So to become a welding engineer, and this shows up on your degree when you graduate, you just have to pick the right courses at fourth year. That's basically it. So it involves several metallurgy courses, some courses on welding. We have partnership with Conestoga College actually, so that students would go down and learn to weld. And we've got one of the few welding programs in all of North America, in fact. So in Canada, there is no other welding program like the one that we have here. Options are a little bit different. Options are something that any engineer in any program can get in theory, although in reality, some options are easier to get than others. They usually require a combination of a selection of courses and maybe taking 1 or 2 extra courses over the your time in engineering. So in mechanical engineering, what's really, really popular is for students to take the mechatronics option, to take a biomechanical option. There's a management sciences option that is incredibly popular with all faculties. And most recently, there are 2 options that are becoming more and more popular, and options in entrepreneurship and an option in artificial intelligence. So again, you just have to tell us you want to do those options, and then we give you access to certain courses. You may have to take an extra course or 2.
Great, thanks, Mike. Abdullah, did you want to speak about that and your experience a little bit?
Sure thing. Mike Collins covered the majority of the options and specializations available. Even if you don't necessarily want to have the designation of having an option or a specific specialization, in my case, most of my 4th year technical electives were energy based. So building energy analysis, heat transfer, energy conversion, things like that. So that's where I focused all of my efforts on. So I didn't get a specific option in it, but that's where my focus and my area of expertise, you can say, was when it comes to what I took in my 4th year. And then I do have a few friends that I knew that I met through university who, rather than doing options, it's very rare to see this, but they ended up taking, like, overloading a few terms and adding a few courses, and ended up doing, for example, a minor in computer science. That's not very frequent, it's not very common, but you have those options if you do want to add to your workload and graduate with a minor, I would recommend that if you are considering it, talk to your academic advisor first, because it may or may not be possible depending on where you're at in your undergrad or what options are available at the time. So there are different ways of learning more and diversifying your skill set if you so choose.
Awesome. Thank you, Abdullah. Mike, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, just sorry. Abdullah made a really good point there. We have 5 general subject areas in mechanical engineering, and students can choose when they get to 4th year in particular to either specialize in one of those. It's not a formal specialization, but they can pick their courses so that they work in a certain area, or they're trained more heavily in a certain area. And so those areas would be material sciences. They'd be in thermodynamics and heat transfer, which is energy related topics, fluid dynamics, in solid mechanics, and in automation and control, which is robotics essentially. And so students can pick the courses in those areas and very much customize the program in their last year.
Wonderful, thank you. Mariana, if I could go over to you for a second. We are getting a couple of questions about the option of switching. So if a student is accepted into mechanical engineering, but then decides they want to go into mechatronics engineering, is that possible? And what is the process for that? What does that look like?
Okay, so there is 3 things standing between someone transferring to another program. Space, which there is often none in the program you're looking to switch into. Your grades, so you have to be in good standing, meaning your grades have to be pretty good to be able to switch into a different program. And then last but not least, just how close the 2 programs are. Mechanical to mechatronics was the actual question, I think you said. That might be a little easier because there are some overlapping things, but going in a completely different direction might require you to actually start over. So in many cases, because we are a direct entry engineering program, you start learning the exact type of engineering that you're in right away. So once you want to switch into a different one, if it's too different, then you have to start all over in 1A. So it will take you longer, and it might cost you more money if you decide to switch later at some later point in time. So that being said, it really depends on what program you're switching from and which program you're switching into. So I think if someone finds themselves in that situation, definitely talking to us. So the first year office will help work with them and see if that's a possibility. I will say, just because it often doesn't happen for students, they often can't make the switch they're looking for. If you have an offer to another university, to a program you prefer over a program like mechanical engineering that you were offered by Waterloo, please consider going into a program that you prefer. I mean, all Canadian engineering schools and others in the US are really good, and you should really study what you want, because we can't guarantee that you will get what you want once you're here if mechanical engineering is not what your first choice.
Yeah, it's obviously a really important decision to make, and one that you shouldn't take lightly. So but you've got an offer to an amazing program, and it's a big decision to make by June 1st. I did want to go back to our students for a second, and Abdullah as well. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about some of the extracurricular activities that our engineering students have access to, as well as the student teams that they can get involved with. And maybe you could expand a bit on how the student teams work. And, you know, Abdullah spoke a bit about even working for a student team in a co-op position, which is a very cool opportunity also. So Delaney, maybe we could start with you, and then we'll go on from there.
A whole range of opportunities. That's what's available. I'm personally really involved with Engineering Society, so I run a lot of different events through there. We do like advocacy work, social and networking opportunities, as well as various supports to help you with your school semester, especially when you're getting ready to apply for your first co-op job. There is a wide range depending on what you're interested in. And what I'd like to tell everyone is find the thing that you're passionate about. You might have to try a couple different things. I tried joining in a design team in first year and then got involved with something else that I liked better. So that's what I stuck with along the way. And I have a couple of friends who are currently really heavily involved with the design teams who are working to convert their planning process for their design teams into a more online format so that people can still continue to work on the project once they're allowed back in their team bays and are able to start building again. But there's a whole big mix. What I like to do with my class is try to throw together an intramural team. That's one of the benefits of a cohort program, is you can do things with your classmates, try to rope them in. There's a whole range of intramurals you can get involved with. Maybe some of you are varsity athletes. There are a ton of clubs on campus, and pretty much if it doesn't exist already, there's nothing stopping you from starting it yourself. So that's a great opportunity for you as well, totally depending on what you're interested in. And no matter what your background is, what you're looking for, whether you're looking to try something completely new, there's definitely opportunities you can find.
Awesome. Vlad, did you want to speak to your extracurriculars and how you balance it all as well with your schoolwork?
Yeah, for sure. So again, I was only physically at Waterloo for one term, which was 1A, but definitely I still partook in a lot of extracurricular, well, not a lot, but I tried to, you know, expand my horizon beyond just schoolwork. So some things that I did intramural sports. So I did intramural volleyball and also ultimate frisbee, which was really fun and really like interesting to set up because you can just set up your team and you're ready to go, and it keeps you active, I guess. And then also, coincidentally, I'm wearing my shirt from Waterloo, which is one of the student design teams that I joined in first year. Waterloo was basically like a team designed to make an airlock that can be used on a mission to Mars. So yeah, so talking about design teams, I think that's really cool, especially in engineering, because you can join. There's so many design teams and so many different like aspects. Like even though I'm in mechanical engineering, if I want to learn tomorrow, like if I want to do something like robotics or computer science, I can join a design team and focus on that topic. And the majority of design teams are easy to join as well. There's no like rigorous application process. It's more like you show up, and the more committed you are, the more work they'll give you to do, and it's interesting. So yeah, in terms of balancing school and extracurriculars, I definitely think it's really important to do school as much as you do the things that you enjoy as well. Just for your health overall, I think it's good to keep a balance, and it's definitely doable if you balance your time correctly. So, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And Abdullah, did you want to add to that? I know you were very involved during your time as a student, so maybe you could tell us a bit about that and how you found balance as well.
Absolutely. So I guess just to start, the community at Waterloo is very much unlike anywhere else. And I say that in the sense that, yeah, there are an abundance of opportunities, but it's one of those things where every opportunity or any involvement that I've been a part of, I've been welcomed in with open arms, and that means a lot. And the thing with that is, just to talk about student design teams for a little bit, there are over 30 different student design teams. They're all very unique in their own way. So if you try one out and it's not for you, you have so many different options. If you want to work on a solar car, if you want to work on an autonomous boat, if you want to work on satellites, if you want to work on rockets, if you want to work on microfluidics and robotics, like there's so many different things depending on what you're interested in. And honestly, you might find things that you never thought you'd be interested in that you end up falling in love with. For me, I tried student design teams, and then as I had mentioned, I ended up getting more involved in the engineering society, and I dedicated so much of my time to that. But the reason I dedicated so much of my time to that, before I started, I never really thought that anything relating to student government or advocacy or running events was something that was for me, because I was a little more introverted when I was in high school. But then when I started university, I just felt very welcome, and it made me want to be more involved. And this, I guess I'll just share a little bit of the story. I won't take up too much time, but I remember when I first started in my first term, the first month, all I did was study. And honestly, I was not doing great in school because all I did was study. I didn't really have much of a work-life balance. As I started to get more and more involved, my average went up by about 15% just because I felt happier while I was in school. I felt like I was actually enjoying my time as a student rather than just robotically memorizing and doing homework. So finding that balance is very much what helped get me through my undergrad. And the Engineering Society is a great opportunity because there's a lot of, and basically anything you want to do, you're able to do. Any impact you want on making student life better, you can get involved with that. If you don't want to just work on a local level, you can join different professional engineering chapters, like student chapters, to get involved with those. If you're interested in meeting engineering students from across the province or across the country, you have opportunities to get involved with conferences, whether it be attending as a delegate, presenting at conferences, or even helping run a conference, which I was thankful to be able to do all three. You have so many different opportunities there. And like Delaney said, if there's something that you're interested in that doesn't exist, you can make it happen. You have those opportunities to make things happen. The biggest takeaway that I would say is don't just do something because you think it'll look good on a resume. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to get much out of it. Even if you write it on a resume and it might help land you the interview, if you don't care about it, it's going to come across that way. So the key thing is make sure that you do find something that you enjoy and dedicate time to it. But again, make sure that it makes you happy and it will help with your work-life balance. With regards to actually being able to balance everything, that is a very subjective question. Everybody has different capacities. Don't ever try to compare yourself to anyone else in your class. Like, I was able to dedicate so much of my time towards my extracurriculars. My roommate was not. And we still supported each other and we both did our best and did what we could. It's just a matter of he was involved in a few things, I was involved in more things. And we just both did what we enjoyed. But telling you how I balanced it might not necessarily mean too much, but it's basically just a matter of prioritizing and finding what things need to be done, setting deadlines for yourself. If you find writing things down helps, do that. If you find having a calendar helps, do that. As long as you find that you're comfortable with where you're at and you're not being overwhelmed, then that's perfect. If you find that you are being overwhelmed, you may need to reprioritize things and realize that you're first and foremost here for an education. So make sure you prioritize things in that way. But again, find a balance that works for you. And honestly, the opportunities you get in university, you will never get in the real world. And I very much realized that right after I graduated. So take advantage of what you have and make the most of it while making sure that you're staying physically and mentally healthy.
Great. Thank you so much, Abdullah. I think that's awesome, awesome advice. Mariana, I did want to go over to you just for a moment. We have a few questions about residence and just whether or not residence is going to be open in the fall, and if it makes sense for students to apply to live there. And then if there is a specific residence that mechanical engineering students should look at or should apply to. And maybe Delaney can speak to a bit about her residence experience as well.
Yeah, so Waterloo residence is open for the fall. We're working with Waterloo Public Health to ensure your safety should you choose to live in residence in September. So some of the things we've done is created those barriers between our frontline staff and the students we're servicing, new cleaning ways, and there is also one other change. So in the past, traditionally we would have single rooms and then shared rooms or double rooms. So where we would have 2 students in a room. That will no longer be taking place. So all of the individual rooms will be single. Which doesn't mean that the suite style residences, so the ones that look like mini apartments, will not be taking place. It just means that everyone will be in their individual room. In addition to that, if you think today or by June 1st that you want to live in residence and you paid the $500 deposit, but you change your mind at some point in time or the situation changes and you no longer feel safe to be on campus, there will be deadlines when you can get your money. You will have to meet the deadlines to get your money returned. So at some point in time, you will have to make a decision again if you still want to do that or not. That email that I talked about that everyone received does have a URL that points you into the residence direction where you can read more details about those deadlines. And then lastly, just because I've been reading some of your questions but not typing answers because I'm also listening to Daniela, I've noticed that lots of students are asking about whether or not they can just live on campus in the winter term or in their 1B term, whenever that takes place, depending on their stream. Residents is still making a decision about that. So they've just asked that students keep returning to their residence sort of COVID-19 updates website because they plan on making a decision about that as soon as possible.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mariana. Delaney, did you want to talk a bit about your first year and where you lived?
And do. So in my first year, I lived in residence. I actually ended up living in one of the university college residences, and I had a great time. Residence for me was definitely a highlight in my experience. I got to meet so many different people, and some of my best friends I have met through residence. What I really liked about it was the mix of people I got to meet. I got to meet people from all sorts of different programs and faculties. With you going through the most of your day traveling with your cohort, you're surrounded by them all the time. So you get to know your class really, really well. And I was fortunate enough to have some of my friends also live in the same residence building as me. But what I liked is to have that chance to meet different people from across the faculties. There are people you don't normally have the opportunity to interact with throughout the day as you're like passing paths on the way to class, but like one of my best friends is from the Faculty of Environment, whereas the other one's from the Faculty of Science, and you're just exposed to a whole range of different perspectives there. I find that the Dawn teams in the residences are also super supportive, trying to help you adapt. They're people who have like been in your shoes and are going to help you figure out how you need to adjust to university. Living in residence is your first sort of starting introduction to living on your own for a lot of us. So it's a great independence builder, and you get to go through that journey with a supportive community helping you along the way. And I think that's something that I'm trying to highlight throughout this call, is just the amount of community that you can find here to help you support like whatever you take on.
Awesome. Thank you, Delaney. I would like to go back to Andrew and Mike just for a minute. We've had a couple questions come in from students regarding what they should be doing over the summer to prepare to start in September. So any advice you have for that? And we also had a couple specific questions about programming languages and technology that they should become familiar with before starting. So if you have any recommendations on that, or if that's not necessary.
Do you want me to, Mike, or do you want to?
Go ahead.
All right.
Andrew, go ahead. Yeah.
So the software we will teach you is AutoCAD and SolidWorks and C++ and Robot C and an introduction to MATLAB. You do not need to know any of it. When I came to university, I did H3 mechanical engineering at Waterloo. I knew absolutely zero about AutoCAD and SolidWorks. Most people who come to University at Waterloo know zero about SolidWorks, AutoCAD, and have never touched a programming language in their life. Seriously, the majority of students. So if you wish, you can, by all means, but you do not need to. In terms of preparing for the summer, the one thing I would recommend is work on the studies. Work on finishing up grade 12 really well. You are taking calculus, or you've taken calculus, you're taking functions, you're taking physics, you're taking chemistry, or you've taken them. Finish them up if you're still doing them, and finish them up well, which I know is hard. We're going to be releasing some stuff to help you with the math prep, to help you with some of the other prep. There's a website that's been released for that, and keep monitoring that for more and more of what we're putting out. I'm involved in some of that work. We'll do what we can once you get here to help you as well. We've got 5 full-time TAs who are hired just to help you make it through 1A, to be there for whatever questions you've got. Abdullah was actually one of those TAs, and did a fantastic job. Seriously, did a fantastic job. So like, we will do everything we can to help you once you're here. We're going to do everything we can to help you build that community, even though you're not physically here in the fall, because as Vlad said at the very start of this, you're all going to be here. This is a blip. It's one heck of a blip, but you're going to be here. And I'm looking forward to meeting every single one of you when you're on campus. Like, I will meet every single one of you on campus, and so will Mike, and so will everybody else. So we're looking forward to it.
Thanks,
I'm going to
Andrew.
add that our first year program is very much designed with the viewpoint that the students that are coming in have a variety of experience and learning, and so we don't assume that you know everything about all the topics that we're teaching you. The first year is designed to put you all on the same footing. So we have students that come in that know a lot of programming, and some that don't have any, but we will get you to the same point. Same goes for the math, same goes for the science. We understand that you have different experiences, and so we try to account for that as best we can.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. And I would like to go back to our students, Delaney, Vlad, and our alumnus, Abdullah, and just ask if you have some advice, and if you could look back at first year, and Vlad, it's quite recent for you, just what advice would you give yourself coming in and starting in September? Anything that you can sort of impart to the students to help them prepare to get ready for starting in September. Delaney, maybe we could start off with you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Daniela. I wanted to build off of what Professor Collins and Dr. Milne were saying first. You learn everything you need to learn in your first year. So take the summer off, give yourself a break. This is the last summer for the next 4 2/3 years of your life that you're gonna have off and completely for you. So I'd definitely take advantage of that. Take some time, like after you finish your grade 12 year, to like stop, refresh, have a break. It's nice, you'll want it. So I'd keep that in mind. The only thing that I'd recommend to really prepare beforehand is like think about your resume. If you can come in with even a skeleton, that would help out a lot just as you start entering the job search. But if I were to go back and give a nice reminder to my first year self, I'd definitely let them know you don't have to fit a certain mold. When I came into engineering, I very much thought I had to do A, B, and C to fit the stereotypical engineer, like study all the time, only do this, this, and this extracurricular, and that's just how it was going to work. I quickly realized that's not the way it works. So I think I'd just remind myself to take more breaks, go pursue the things that you're passionate about. You always have time for the things that you're passionate about, and you will build that time into your day, because otherwise you'll burn out. You can't study 24/7. You need to have some sort of break. So make it something that you enjoy. I think that if I had done that a little bit sooner, I would have met a lot of my friends a lot earlier, and I would have just had a better overall first year experience. I had a great time. It just took me a little bit longer to open up to those things because I was trying so hard to fit this mold that really doesn't exist.
Awesome. Vlad, do you want to share your advice for your first year self?
Yeah, sure. So if I had one piece of advice, the most important thing I would tell myself is routine. I think routine is extremely powerful and useful in any aspect of your life. For me, what happened is I came into first year and I was all over the place. You know, my sleep schedule was completely just shot. I was doing assignments like on the go. I didn't really plan them out. I just did them like, oh, there's this assignment. Like, okay, I guess I'll do this because it's due tomorrow, right? So I was really all over the place. And even though I still got through the term, I did fairly well. It was very draining, and it was tough. Like, you know, every day I didn't know what I was going to do every day. But if you have a solid routine that you can rely on, it sort of becomes like automatic. Like you wake up and you know what you got to do, you know how to proceed, and it makes you. It's like it just eases your mind because you can stop spending energy on like stress and everything, and you have more energy to do things that you like. So I'd say have a routine in place, you know, go to bed, or at least wake up every single day at the same time, which is obviously very useful, especially during online classes. Like I know it's tempting to say, oh, it's recorded, I'm just going to sleep into 12. But what happens is, you know, your body will just kind of not adjust properly, and you'll be all over the place, and it won't be healthy. So try to really, even if it's online, just wake up at the same time every day, you know, 8 o'clock, have breakfast, plan out your day, and try to stick to that routine. And it's really going to help you and make you a much better person.
That is awesome advice, Vlad. Thank you. And Abdullah, if you wanted to finish us off, having the benefit of hindsight, now being a graduate of the program.
Sure thing. So the reality is that right now all of you are the top of your class, but given that you're all going to be coming to the University of Waterloo, hopefully, not everybody can be the top of the class. And the reality of that is everybody learns differently. Some things come easy to others. So some things come easy to you that don't make sense to others. Some things come very easy to others, and for you, you just can't fathom them. The biggest bit of advice I will give is twofold. One, go easy on yourself. Forgive yourself for not understanding something. Don't think that you're stupid. Don't think that there's anything wrong with you. It's just it's a learning process. And the biggest takeaway from that is never forget to ask for help. Even if you never needed to ask for help like in high school because you were always top of the class, it's a very different ballgame in university. You need to be able to ask your peers, ask your TAs, ask your professors, ask everybody, because there will be times when you're going to be going through a hard time, and you don't have to go through it by yourself, whether it's academically or personally. For me, I was diagnosed with depression halfway through undergrad, and with the support of my professors, with the support of my closest friends, my support system, with engineering counseling, I was able to get through all of that. I was able to stay involved in all my extracurriculars. I was able to stay on top of school just because I had the support system in place and I knew where to go for help. And I swallowed my pride long ago. Like I knew that I had to be able to go out of my way to ask for support. And honestly, if I didn't, I wouldn't have made it through my degree. Engineering is tough, but it doesn't mean you have to go through it alone. You can get the support you need, so just make sure to take advantage of that and take care of yourself first and foremost. School is important, but if you're not physically and mentally healthy, you can't study. So stay on top of yourself and make sure to get help when you need it. That is the biggest key to success in engineering, is making yourself a priority and asking for help when you need it.
Thank you so much, Abdullah, and thanks for your honesty. I think that's really important, and it's really refreshing to hear as well. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. I do want to thank everyone, all of our fabulous panelists who joined us today to answer your questions, and all of our attendees. Thank you for being here. I think we were able to get through most of the questions in the Q&A through typed responses, and we asked as many as we could out loud. If you do have further questions, please do email us. You can email us at enginfo@uwaterloo.ca. And I see that Andrew has also shared his email address in the chat. So if you do want to reach out directly to Andrew, please feel free to do so. We will try to get back to you as soon as possible. I should have mentioned another option that we have as well is a system called Eng Chats. And through Eng Chats, you can speak directly to a current student ambassador. So we will set up a one-to-one call, either through Skype or through Google Hangouts, and you can speak directly to a current student. So if you are interested in an Eng Chat, just Google UWaterloo Eng Chats and you'll find the form. It's on our main Engineering Student Ambassador website. So that's a great way to get more of your questions answered and connect with some of our current students over the summer. Once again, just thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We really look forward to seeing you in September. And thanks. Have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody. See you in the fall.